here's the thing. For everybody listening, don't make the same mistake the Bengals just did in any facet of your life.
People are going to get hurt. It's the hockey season.
What about the Jared Cook play on the sideline?
I was very tempted to just put defense.
I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
Come on, Austin and I've been saying this ever since Joe Burrow got injured.
I don't really think the Dodgers are going to make the World Series this year. I feel like they'll make it to the NLCS.
The Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me.
Like you said, Ovechkin, he's getting older. He hasn't been playing as well as I imagined. He's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, but he hasn't started off this season as hot as I would hope.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. Now we're doing trade predictions as it's on a spooky holiday. And now, is it over now for these players and their teams? We're just going to talk about some players. Austin, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so to kind of explain this structure, we never have done this structure before where we just kind of randomly talk about players, but the NFL is so weird with trades. I could see the trade deadline happening and there being one or zero insignificant trade that happens, nothing major. But we can start out talking about Davante Adams. I don't believe he does get traded, but do you think he should? Not do you think will he? Do you think he should?
If I'm the Raiders, yes, I would trade him because it seems like it's not really working out. But yeah, they're kind of punting on a trade. I think you still get a first-round pick for him. I think a team would be willing to trade a first-round pick.
Yeah, I think they would. How much control would they have? How many years does Davante have left on his contract?
I want to say like 4, or maybe is it 3? Just because he signed a 5-year, $140 million contract in 2022. So yeah, 4, because last year was his first year, so he's got 4 left.
4 including this year.
Yeah, 4 including this year.
Yeah.
So 3 future years.
Yeah. And wow, he's getting paid a ton for a wide receiver. 35 and a half at age 33 and 34 is unheard of for a wide receiver. But yes, I still think you could get a first for him because he's extremely productive. But the thing is that he's not even been the most productive wide receiver on his team. Jacoby Myers has played amazing this year. And that's what's kind of shocking about why this team is only 3-4, and it's because of QB play. But who's somebody you want to bring up?
I think it's a guy I've already brought up, but I think Hunter Renfrow, and we can also talk about teams that would be interested in trading. I think the Chiefs have to be one. I know they got Hardman, but I think they're still on the lookout. And I think Raiders have to be someone that could trade. Maybe the Vikings, even though I don't think they trade Kirk Cousins now. I think maybe there's life to that. Maybe they trade again for someone. I know they traded for Akers, but I think we're going to see a lot of movement in this trade deadline.
Okay. Yeah, I could see a lot of movement. I don't think Renfrow gets traded. I think the Raiders are kind of trying to stay pat. They believe in their system, or they just don't believe in whatever they're getting offered. Because I know that some people want the whole house for just a small asset. So we'll have to see. A player I want to talk about is someone that I don't know who would want them, but I could see a place okay, do we think Aaron Donald could be on the trade block if the Rams are going to be bad for the next few years? Or do you think they're going to be bad the next few years? Because Matthew Stafford's probably done after this year, right?
Yeah.
And if he's not, the Rams still have inherent issues to their team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year. Could you make a move for Aaron Donald to get him on a better team?
I think you could, but also to me is what's the future of Aaron Donald?
That's true. I do think that would matter. But I think he would rather win than stay because he only has one championship, I think, only. And he's still, relatively in his prime.
He's relatively in his prime, but I just remember there was a lot of retirement talk from him. And I'm like, maybe he just wants to hang it up. But if you could take that risk. And it seems like you could. you could take that risk and be like, hey, let's see if we can get him into this environment and excited about it. And maybe he gets maybe he's like, no, I want to continue because his contract goes for a little bit longer.
Yeah, he is a wild left. I think he may use retirement kind of as a give me money now because I'm worth it, which he definitely was or is. But I could see a team making a play, but that would probably maybe be next year. If Stafford is gone, what value do you get from Aaron Donald just wasting away?
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. That's a good name to bring up. I also want to talk about the Broncos. Do you think Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton? I think Jerry Jeudy could be a project. I don't think the Chiefs trade for him, but let's say a team like what happens if you're the Panthers?
I could see it. I could see that. That's the team I was going to bring up because I don't think many teams would be interested in Jeudy. Because I think they're going to ask too much. And the problem with the Panthers is they've already given up a lot of draft capital. So that's why I would say no, but that was a team I was thinking of. I would think Sutton is more attainable for them because they don't want to give up too much. They already gave up a lot to get up to the number one slot to take Bryce. So I think that they're more thinking of, let me just get a guy now that can help out Bryce Young besides Adam Thielen, who's playing amazing. And I think Sutton would be a lot more attainable because you don't want a guy that's kind of middling next to Bryce if you're going to go out and trade more draft capital to get him.
Okay. I see. So you think the Broncos value Jeudy high? I don't feel like they value Jeudy high.
I think that they value him more than his market value is.
Okay. And because I think they're probably higher on Sutton than Jeudy.
The thing is, Sutton is one of those players that you kind of know what he is. So while Jeudy could be a project that could work out, I think Sutton's probably worth less to the Broncos than Jeudy is, at least on the trade market. Because a team that I could see trading for Jeudy would be a team like the Vikings that can afford to pick up a guy it's not really working out there. But if they had Addison, Jeudy, and Jefferson when that came back, and they were all there and 100%, and Jeudy became that, him as a third wide receiver, I think would free him up not only as a pass catcher, but also it would help him calm down because I feel like he puts a lot of pressure on himself and is kind of causing his performance levels to not be as great.
That's fair, and I think the Vikings are there. Yeah, and it's good. To me, Judy's more of a project. It's not what we expected. But another thing that popped into mind, I'm looking at a couple of lists, and this one does make. How much would you be shocked? Because I think there is going to be a trade that shocks us, especially with the Bayard news. Like the Eagles up again. I don't think they really needed value, but Bayard's great news. What about Derrick Henry?
He's worth too much. He's still playing way too well. I don't know who wants. If you don't want to give running backs a contract, right? Why would you want to give up draft capital to get them? It seems disadvantageous, or at least counterintuitive. Because if you don't believe in running backs, that shouldn't change with Henry. But Henry's still playing very well, and I could see him getting traded. But I think his value is way too. He is the best player on the Titans still, and even if a team offered a third, I don't think that's enough. I don't think a third's enough for Henry because
I would say second. I could see. It's a perplexing issue
second,
for what you. Yeah.
If it's a second, they would have to take on his. He would have to take on his whole contract. Mm-hmm. You'd not only have to pay the running back, but also have to give up a second, which is, I think, the problem with a lot of teams wanting to take him on.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And so that's just something that popped in my mind because they do have that younger running back still, but yeah, Henry's still helping the Titans. And I'm wondering if they make the move at quarterback or I know Tannehill got injured, but maybe they just want to try Will Levis. Now I know they have Malik Willis, but it seems like they might go in Will Levis's direction.
For the Falcons game, because Ryan Tannehill is out, it's been reported that both QBs will play. So that's going to be interesting. I don't think they trade for a QB. You can't back-to-back years draft somebody and then not use one of those two.
No, that's my bad. I think they trade Tannehill.
Oh. Okay. Well, I'll ask this question separately, and you can connect it, or we can go on two different routes here. Do the Jets end up trading for a QB?
I like where you're thinking, or I was maybe thinking, I don't think Tannehill makes sense for the Jets, but it is a good question. I want to say they don't. I think they buy into, okay, we like where Zach Wilson's heading. If we can make it to the playoffs, Rodgers will be back. I think they're going to believe in Rodgers coming back.
I don't think Rodgers could be back until the fourth quarter with 1 second left in the Super Bowl. I just...
Am I saying are they realistic goals? No. But when have the Jets done something realistic in the past few years?
Yeah, that's a good point. So if it's not the Jets, who do you think Tannehill gets traded to? If you think if you believe he gets traded?
Oh man, like I could see him going to the Jets. I wouldn't like it, but what about the Browns?
You already have so much into Deshaun Watson. You basically, the only way that would work is if you declared Watson out for the rest of the year. PJ Walker's come in and won both of his starts. I don't know how that's fair to him. I don't think they would make that move. I think it causes a little bit too much locker room conversation, especially after, like I said, PJ Walker's come in and started 2 games and won them.
Yeah, it's really tough to figure out like where would a QB go because it seems like teams are kind of set with their quarterback situation.
Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think about Chase Young? I've seen some talk about Chase Young. I don't think he gets traded because, again, I think he's worth too much than what people are going to be offering him, and he does have some injury concerns added to that.
Yeah, I get that, and yeah, I saw that too. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand why you would want to trade Chase Young. So that's kind of what pops into my mind. I'm wondering, like, there's gonna be like, what's the reaction to the Eagles move? To me, that's huge. Like, Byard to me is a really good safety, and so what do the Niners do?
That's a good question.
If you're an NFC team, you have to respond and be like, "Whoa," because the Eagles are still a powerhouse. They're a different team than they were last year, in my opinion. But you have to. They just were like they're always looking to get better, and I think they're already the best team in the NFC. So how do you compete with that?
I think the only way to compete for that, if you're the Niners, they still have a great safety and they have a great defense, but Patrick Surtain is on the trade block as well for Denver, and if the 49ers got him, who I think Surtain's a top 10 corner in the league, that would be dangerous. And he's definitely much better than Byard, even though Byard's good. Byard's just a lot older. So if you got Surtain into San Francisco, I think that could be abundantly dangerous.
Yeah, and the Broncos are an interesting team because they've been kind of cutting bait. They traded Gregory. They cut Frank Clark. What is really on the block for them? Could we see Russell Wilson get traded? I say no.
No.
I don't think you're not going to get anything back. You're basically we're taking this loss. But yeah, I'm very curious. And if we're also thinking wide receivers, what do the Ravens do? Do they go one more time for a wide receiver?
Man, you don't want to trade for Judy because he's a project and you've already had 1,800 of those.
Hear me out. What about Derrick Henry I know he's not a wide receiver, but Derrick Henry to the Ravens?
I don't think that works.
Okay. Yeah. But like it's so hard to tell because it feels like free agent trade stuff has happened more, but it really comes out of nowhere. Like this Byard trade was just like, what? I didn't know he was on the block.
Yeah, I agree. I did not know he was on the block. So yeah, that's a good point. I'm always weirded out by the trade deadline in football because it's just so vastly different. Like in every other sport, there is major trades happening, and you could go through an entire NFL trade deadline not knowing it's the NFL trade deadline.
Yeah, and I think it's starting to gear up, but it's not at the level of the other trade deadlines.
Oh, 100% not.
But I think it's getting closer than what we thought it would because it would be like and then we'll have to see though. Any final thoughts?
Nope.
Let us know what you think. Let us know if you do really like the NFL trade deadline. To me, it's like okay, cool. That's all. I didn't even realize the date of it. That's all we got. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.